how do we launch Jenkins on Linux. Majorly for Linux, this is the only method we have. But we can use the same method to launch it on Windows also. But if I wanted to launch it on Linux, what normally happens? We call it as Jenkins war. Okay, war is again a package. So someone has written code for Jenkins, and then what they did is let others use it, and then what they did is they completely packaged it into a war file. War is again called a zip. Okay, war is nothing but a zip version in Linux. Okay, so if you just look at it, how does it come? Okay, I'm taking the latest version. When you click it, if you see when it is downloading, it is getting downloaded as jenkins.war file. War is like a zip, so I can't install it, double click it or do anything like that. And in Linux, we can't even double click or do it. So what happens is, even when you have your code also, right, the development code, you create a war file. It's called the package. So the whole code is packaged into a war file. So this is like a war file which is like orphan. You don't have anything. It's like an orphan which doesn't have anything, or you can't do anything to it. Now what we will do is we will use something called the container. Okay, we use something called the container. At the end, yesterday if you have seen, right, at the end, how did you know that yes, Jenkins has come up? You hit a URL, right? What did you guys do? You guys have hit an URL, and then that URL contained it had the Jenkins code. The same way in applications also, in our code also, when developers write the code, if you're launching that, you require an URL, right? You require an URL. That URL will host it. For example, take an Amazon developers on everything, they write a code. What do? We create a package of the code what developer has written, like a zip file. But at the end, we require an URL where you can host this code. Okay, so that URL created ones are called the containers. Okay, they are called the containers. Now the topic today we're going to learn is Apache Tomcat. This is not related only to Jenkins, guys. Even at the end when developers write the code, we create a package. That package we are going to put it in Apache Tomcat. So when I say Apache Tomcat is a servlet container. Okay, it is a servlet container. So we'll just learn, like first half an hour or so we'll learn a background of it. The reason is it will be useful for you to host your Jenkins, and also when you go to the projects, the end output of the build, we put it in Apache Tomcat. Okay, how does it work? So when you just look at it in the diagrammatic way, it looks like this. You have a container, and this container inbuilt comes with an URL. This comes with an URL. Okay, take this is an URL, the one which I have drawn. Now what do you have? You guys have a Jenkins war or your project war created. So what do? You have this, and then you take that war and put it inside. You take that war and put it inside the Tomcat. So at the end, this URL will help you to see the code what developers have written. That we call it as we deployed the code into Tomcat. So at the end, Tomcat will host your application, which is nothing but your application code. Is it clear? Or is there anyone who didn't understand this?
Repeat again, Sanjay.
Okay. Okay, now I hope everyone understands Telugu, right? Right? Now,
Yes.
Developers code రాస్తున్నారు కదా, you have n number of files written by developer. ఒక్కో డెవలపర్ లైన్స్ ఆఫ్ కోడ్ కొన్ని ఫైల్స్ రాస్తారు. సో ఎట్ ది ఎండ్ మనం ఏం చేస్తాం, దాన్ని ఒక ప్యాకేజ్ లా క్రియేట్ చేస్తాం. సో ఇప్పుడు జెంకిన్స్ కూడా తీసుకుంటే, జెంకిన్స్ కూడా కోడ్ మొత్తాన్ని ఒక ప్యాకేజ్ కింద క్రియేట్ చేశారు. ఆ ప్యాకేజ్ ఏంటి? వార్ ఇస్ అ ప్యాకేజ్డ్ వన్. ఎట్ ది ఎండ్ ప్యాకేజ్ అంటే ఏంటి? జిప్ చేసింది ఏంటి? మనం జిప్ చేసింది ఏంటి? వార్ కింద కోడే. బట్ ఎండ్ ఆఫ్ ద డే మనకు ఒక URL కావాలి. We require an URL from where you can see this code. So that is provided by the concept called containers. So Apache, WebLogic, WebSphere, these are all containers. Okay, for a container, let me take it like this. So this container comes with an inbuilt URL. Okay. So you can directly open that URL and you will have the default code which is there inside it, which is nothing but your Tomcat page. కానీ మనం ఏం చేస్తాం అంటే ఎట్ ది ఎండ్ మనకి ఏం కావాలి, యూఆర్ఎల్ కావాలి. ఆ యూఆర్ఎల్ హిట్ చేసినప్పుడు మన కోడ్ కనపడాలి అక్కడ. వాట్ డెవలపర్ హ్యాస్ రిటర్న్ ద కోడ్. సో వాట్ విల్ వి డూ, విల్ టేక్ ద సేమ్ కోడ్ రిటర్న్ బై డెవలపర్, which is nothing but we have created a build called the war file. We take it and then we put it inside Tomcat. At the end, a Tomcat lo em kanapadtadi appudu, it will be our code. So when you hit the URL, it will be our code. So what we call is Apache is a servlet container. It's a servlet code. So it is the servlet code to host our application, which by default has its own URL. What is it exactly? I'll show you. కొద్దిగా ఐడియా వచ్చిందా లేదా ఇంకా?
Yeah, it's
Yes.
clear, sir.
Clear.
Okay. Now I'll show you how it looks like. Okay. So the latest version is Tomcat 8. So we'll just download it. You can take the latest version. Okay, download. Okay, again, it's up to you. You want to take the tar for learning, we'll take the tar only. Zip అనేది it's very common. It's like an untar చేసేయచ్చు just direct గా. Zip is like the extract చేస్తే zip అయిపోతుంది.
So which version are you downloading, Sanjay?
I'm using 7.70. Okay, you can use 8, it doesn't matter. Okay,
Okay. Yeah.
just have taken the git. So Control X. We'll go back to our folder. Okay, paste it. Just for the ease, I'll just rename it. It's just for the ease, guys. I just have got one, so I'm just removing it. Okay, now we'll use our Cygwin because I want to play with Linux commands. So come on, can someone tell me how to navigate to that folder?
Yeah. You can copy the link from there.
This one?
Yes.
Okay.
So hit enter after that.
Before that, I think
No,
we
right.
need to use C drive and then go to the.
You see which drive I'm in? I'm in
Oh.
/home. No, I
Okay,
need to
okay.
go to the drive, right? It's
Yes.
change directory, and then by default I told you, right? Since we are using Cygwin, it comes with Cygwin drive, and then which drive is it? F drive, right? And then Devops August. Now if you want to see what is there in the drive, what is the command?
ls,
What does ls means?
list of files.
List. So it has more extensions also. If you see, it just looks like a little bit clumsy. Means you don't know which is a folder or which is a ZZip. So what it comes with, ls minus l means will list. Now you see, D here at the starting, D stands for the directory. The other ones are just the files. If you want more, like I wanted to sort it by date, ls minus ltr. It will show you the latest one which you did. There will be some hidden files in Linux also. So to see those also, ls minus lart. A is for hidden files. So you see there are some hidden files. Dot and dot dot. These are hidden files. These are the extensions, okay, of list. Now I wanted to extract this Tomcat zip. What is the command?
Task
R?
archive. TAR.
ZXF.
Sorry. Yeah.
ZXF or minus XF also you can do it. So
Yeah.
normally we just ZXF and then Apache Tomcat dot Java. Just taking time to extract. So it is done. Okay, now let's go back whether it has done. You see, it has done it. Now we'll go back to our basics. What does bin contain? So if you just extract it, that is enough. You can just directly host it. But what will happen is, in case of Jenkins hosting it here, it's you don't need to know what each folder contains. But I told you the second scenario also, right? We might host our code also sometimes in the Apache Tomcat. That's the reason you need to know what each file does. And I'll tell you from real time also what all requests we get from the dev team. Okay? What does bin contain?
Executable files.
Exactly. Bin contains the executables. Now you have a Tomcat. If you wanted to start the Tomcat or you wanted to stop the Tomcat, what that meant is, you see, by default, the Tomcat port is 8080. So if you wanted to check whether it is running, it is called localhost 8080. Guys, I've typed here localhost. What do you mean by localhost? No one asked me.
That's a local server.
Local server.
What do you mean by local server?
Which is connected with the port 8080.
Correct.
So what
We are hosting that on our local system.
Current working machine is the local one.
current? Yes. So to make it more clear, right? You have an application running on the same server which you are logged in. Okay, ఇప్పుడు చూస్తే నేను ఆ Tomcat అనేది ఇదే సర్వర్ లో హోస్ట్ చేశాను and I'm trying to launch that from the same machine. Local host means నా system వరకే. If I wanted to open the same URL outside my system, if I wanted to open the same URL outside my system, for example, ఇప్పుడు అరవింద్ సిస్టమ్ ఉంది. అరవింద్ సిస్టమ్ లో ఈ URL నా సిస్టమ్ లో రన్ అయ్యే Tomcat ని అరవింద్ సిస్టమ్ నుంచి చూడాలంటే లోకల్ హోస్ట్ అని కొడితే ఏమవుద్ది? It will show his own system local host, not my system local host. So in those scenarios, what we need to do is he will be using my system IP address or my system name. Instead of localhost, he will use my IP address. So if you are trying to access any URL inside the same system where it is running, that is called localhost. If you are trying to access an application outside your system, okay, then you can use the URL or you can use the name. How will I know? How will I know the IP address is cmd ipconfig. You'll get the IP address. If you see, this is the IP address of my system. I'll use this also. Or you can just type cmd and then type host name. That will give you the name of the system. So once I have the Tomcat running, I'll show you these two. Okay, how does it differ? Now, if you see, it is nothing is running on port 8080. Now, in the startup scripts of bin, there are 4 things that we need to know. The first one is startup.sh. This is the Linux. If you are trying to start Tomcat or if you are trying to run Tomcat on a Windows, we use bash script. If you are using through Linux, we use shell script.sh script. The same thing, once it is running, you want to shut it down, you use the shutdown.sh in Linux, shutdown.bat in Windows. Okay, so how do we start it? Now you are at this location, Apache. I'm just typing T and then a tab button. So by default it does the autofill. And then here bin. And then if you wanted to start or stop or run your shell script / okay, startup.sh. Hit enter. Now if you see this, come back, starts. So you see, this is it. Now you see this URL, right? Now for example, if you wanted to access this outside your system, and this one, right, this works if you're trying to access the URL outside your system or in your system also. You can use the host name. See, that's the host name. What is the IP address? I can use the IP address also. 192.168. 192.168.1.123. This is how it works. So IP address and host works in your system or outside your system, but local host only onto the local system. Okay? Now, this is the URL.
Sanjay,
Yeah, go ahead.
for Jenkins also localhost 8080, right? Jenkins also.
Yes, yes, localhost 8080. I'll come back to that. I'll come back to that.
Okay.
Harish. Okay, I'll come back to that. Just give me one second. Now,
I think Sanjay, your screen is stuck. For me, I don't know. I'm not able to see your screen.
I see you offline, Arvind.
Offline.
Yeah,
Oh,
yes, yes. Still see it as offline?
Shall I relog in it?
Yeah, how is it for others?
Yeah, I can see your screen, Sanjay.
Arvind, can you just relog in back? Can you see it now, Arvind? Okay, you. Arvind, are you logging up and then logging back? Okay.
Yes, now it's clear, Sanjay.
Guys, I'm not sure who logged in as Manoj. Manoj.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, Manoj. I'm not sure from which team you joined. From Santosh team?
Sunny side. Sunny.
Sunny.
Srinivas.
Santosh, is it? Oh, you're from Srinivas side.
Yeah.
Okay, okay, fine, fine. Okay.
Thank you.
Now, sorry. Yes. So now if you see, right, you have the Tomcat running now. Okay. Now, if you want to shut it down, same thing. Shutdown.sh. So now you see the Tomcat. So these are the 4 important files that we know, that we need to know from the bin folder. The next one. The next one is conf folder. What does conf contain, guys?
Configuration.
Configuration files. So this has the configurations related to Tomcat. Okay. The important file, I think someone has asked me a question. Sanjay, we already have Jenkins running on port 8080, right? Which you guys would have installed yesterday. So the same way we're going to have the problem now. If you have on your system Jenkins already running, your Tomcat won't start because the default port of Tomcat is 8080. From where it is driven is, there is a file called server.xml. If you open this file, there is a port. Okay, so this is the one. It has the port which tells you which port Jenkins or which port the Tomcat is running. Now in your system, if you already have, that is called the port conflict. So what I want you guys to do is start the Jenkins on your server. Okay, as the today's task, start Jenkins on your server which you have installed yesterday. Try to start Tomcat. Tomcat won't come up, but I want you guys to debug it. What to do? Okay, I'll explain what to do, but I'll tell you the procedure also what you'll do in the normal. This is a common error we get in Office.
Yeah, sure, Sanjay,
Okay.
we'll do it.
Okay. Now, if you look at anything related to the ports and everything, what it starts and stops, that is driven through this one. So if you wanted to change the port, we do it through server.xml. We normally do it also. Okay. Normally what happens is if you try to start Tomcat or normally the Jenkins in port 8080, your port 8080 gets occupied. Normally sometimes developers, right, they write some sample codes and they'll come to us and say, Sanjay, can you try to run this application in your server, which is your build server where you might have Jenkins. Then your Jenkins is already occupied by that port, so you can't utilize it. So normally what we do is we don't run Jenkins on port 8080. Okay, we normally run it on any other port. So in Linux, if you're planning to launch Jenkins on a Tomcat, you might be required to change the port. So that is done through server.xml. So if you look at this, right click, what I'll do is I'll run it on port 49. Okay, I'm saving it. So anything related to the ports, we drive it through your server.xml. Next, you have your website. You wanted to maintain authentication, right? Who has to log in, who should not log in. So that is driven through Tomcat users.xml. Okay, that is driven through Tomcat users.xml. So if you wanted to create user IDs and password for your website, you create it here. Okay. Next, there is one file called catalina.properties file. So if you open this file, okay, it has something called these and all. What is this? I'll explain in a while. Let's come back. Next, what does lib contains, guys? What does lib contain? Lib
inbuilt
libraries, which is nothing but the code related to Apache Tomcat, how it needs to behave and all. Okay, just remember, guys, one example I normally use throughout the whole sessions also. My project, right? My project is one of the project is a trading application. If you guys have seen a trading application, how does it look like for a trader? For a trader, it's just one screen where he gets, for example, I want to buy a Facebook share. What happens? He select the Facebook share, how many shares he wants to buy, he will press buy button and he will have a sell button. That's it, right? But what happens in the background? When he clicks the buy button, there is a request created. Okay, then he'll say, okay, this so-and-so trader is trying to buy so-and-so shares. Then it goes to different banks. Different banks give different rates, price for each share and all. So once we get it, and then some processing happens, that's called the fills you get from the bank, and at the end, the share is bought, right? So here you have two pieces to it. The first piece is nothing but just a UI where a trader does, and the second piece is called the code behind that every piece. That we call it as the server code. So the UI is called the client, and where the trader does, and the background is called the server. Did you guys understand this? Is this clear?
Could you please repeat once? I didn't get
Okay.
you.
Okay, you tell me. Okay, you're a trader. For example, take you're a trader. How does it look like? A trading screen.
So for me,
How
it
does
looks like a GUI interface. So
a GUI interface, right?
yeah, it shows all the shares of all the customers. So I'll go whichever share I'm interested in. I'll go click in that button. So I'll buy
button.
that
For example,
share.
what did you do? You click the buy button.
Yes.
But in the background, what happens? As a trader, he doesn't know, right? He's buys. But in the background, there's actual code which works, right? When he's clicking the buy, he'll say, for example, I'm buying 100 shares of Facebook. Facebook current share is 10, for example, $100. 10 into $100. All this calculation, again, it goes to the banks, Barclays, JP Morgan, all these banks. They give you the price. They select the best price. And then once the best price is calculated, it gives back saying that, okay, with the best price, I bought you this many number of shares, right? But for a trader, he just buys and then he gets the value. That's it. But in the background, code runs, right? So now there are two pieces to it. What the GUI he's seeing, it's called the client code. Client code means the blue button, color, all this, there's a code written for that. But in the background, there's actual logic written. That we call it as the server code.
Okay.
Okay? I'm still confused.
No, it's clear. Sir.
How about others? Are you guys getting it? Are you
Yes,
guys
sir.
getting this? Others? Is there anyone who didn't understand this? Because this example we're going to use across. That's the reason. Okay? So normally what happens is in my application, my GUI code, everything related to that is deployed in Tomcat. Okay? All the GUI stuff, everything is deployed in Tomcat. But the background logic code is written in Java, which we call it as standalone application. It doesn't require any container. Okay? So normally what happens is, in the lib folder, there are some jars which are given already, what Tomcat does. In the projects, what they do is, they write some, for example, there is a security related problem they are rectifying. And they wanted to, what they do, we do the build and the jar gets created. They say that, Sanjay, can you deploy this jar in the Tomcat? Just the jar file. So in those scenarios, what we do is, we take the jar and put it in this location, called the lib folder. But when you put it in the lib folder, it doesn't get activated. If it is a new jar, normally it will be a new jar. So it doesn't get activated. So how does Tomcat know that a new jar has come here? That is through the file called context.xml. Sorry, Catalina.properties file. Okay?
Sorry,
Catalina.
Sanjay, can you please repeat that again?
Okay. So till where did you understand?
After the example which you gave, understood till that.
Okay, you understood till there. 1 second. Just understood. Okay. Normally what happens is, there will be some code. There will be some code which the project team also, these are all the jars which are given by Tomcat. Okay, default jars which are given by Tomcat. But there will be some jars which even our project developers will write and give it for Tomcat. Like I said, they wanted to increase some security, or they wanted to have Tomcat behave in a different way. So what will happen is they write the codes for that, and we compile it and create a jar file. Okay? What you're doing here, you're creating the jar file outside what default Tomcat gives you. If any such jars are given, you deploy it in lib folder. We put it in the lib folder. But when you put it in the lib folder, Tomcat doesn't know that a new jar has come in. So how does Tomcat know that a new jar has come in is, you need to make entry of the jar file in the Catalina.properties file. How do we do it is, for example, a new jar comes, we come here and then here, and then, sorry, put a comma for the jar. For example, the jar name is abc.jar, just put it as abc.jar. And then restart the Tomcat. Then Tomcat will know, oh, there's a new jar entry happened in this file, so I need to pick the code of that jar file. Is this clear or still confused?
Do we have to restart the services or else just shut it, close the browser and open it again?
No, you have to restart the service. Any change that you're doing, you have to restart the Tomcat.
Oh yeah. So we have to go through the command line and have to just stop the services and again start.
Start the service, exactly.
Okay. So we can do in Windows and we can do in Linux, right? So you are talking about Linux.
Yeah, it's the same thing. In Linux, what did we use? We have used shutdown.sh. In Windows, it is shutdown.bat.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. I think someone asked me to repeat. Is it clear?
Yes, Sanjay, it's clear.
Okay. Now the most important thing as a DevOps guy we need to adapt is, if any issues comes, we should not just say it is not working or not. So if you go to someone and say, hey, I tried to start Tomcat, it didn't work. How did you say it didn't work? Means I have run startup.sh and I've hit the URL, it didn't work. Then the next thing they'll ask you, did you see the logs? So for any applications that we are running, logs get created. So what we normally do is, for every application there'll be a logs folder. So if you find any issues, just come here and see if there is any entry for the logs. If you read it, it will throw an error. The same example I told you guys is in Jenkins, what you have done yesterday is you have started Jenkins in port 8080, right? Try to start Tomcat without changing the port. Then it won't start because there is something called port conflict. Now come back to your logs folder and open the log file there and then see. It will throw an error called server bind exception. Try to search that in Google. What do you mean by server bind exception? What it meant is there is something called port conflict. So when you change back the port to 999 or whatever port you want, it will work. That's how even we do it. It's not something like difficult. Just that's the way we try to solve an issue. We go read the logs, even if build fails or anything, we read the logs, take that, put it on Google, you'll get a lot of information. Okay? So this is the important part. Logs contains, or it tells you what behavior is happening. Sometimes trader will say, first trader will come and say, hey, my UI just hung up. What will I know? Just has hung or something, how will I know? I'll go to Tomcat and I know it's in the Tomcat. I'll open that Tomcat log and I'll see what has happened. It'll give you a lot of instructions. If you see, I've shut down Tomcat, right? It just said stopping Tomcat server instance. Okay, when you read the logs, it will give you a lot of information what is happening on the background. Okay, is it clear?
Yes. Sanjay, how will you know that a particular error is on a particular log? Because there will be a lot of logs, right?
What do you went? Like, it is like like you're running Tomcat, right? I know Tomcat is running here. And then what I'll do is I'll come to the logs. So the basic thing what I do is I go by date modified.
Okay, yeah.
This is one.
Okay, because I see only 4 to 5 logs over here, because in a real-time environment there could be more than 100 or 200, right? So
yeah, it will be there.
Confused. Yeah.
So what we do is we go by. So if you see this Catalina by date, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
that is one. Or you can go by the date modified. If I'm doing it in Linux, I'll just come here. I'll do ls minus LART. It will sort by date and time. So I'll know the last modified one. And even in the logs, right? You always find it in the last. Okay, the last one tells you. Means it stopped working. Where is the entry? Almost at the last, it shows that entry.
Okay, Sanjay.
Okay, so this is. Now, any temp folders it wanted to create as a temporary ones, it stores it in the temp. Normally, sometimes you find that you're running out of disk space. You can go ahead and delete what is there in temp. Just stop the Tomcat, delete what is there in temp, start it. That's how you can clear the space. Other than that, nothing much. We do it in temp. The next one is your web apps folder. Okay, this is the folder where you are going to host your code. You have your WAR files. You put it in this location. That's how Tomcat knows. Okay, I'll go ahead and read what is there in the. web apps folder. Okay, you put your WAR file, your code also here. It will know. Okay, I'll go ahead and read what is there in the web apps folder. Okay, we'll do that also. If you look at that, currently it is showing the Tomcat by default, right? That is coming from here. Okay. So what is, again, it's of the Catalina, what jars you put it, it tries to copy it here. Now let's go back and see if I just start it. What is the default port I'm using? 49s, right? So this is the default one it is showing, but at the end what I wanted to show is my code, right? What is my application code? For example, it can be your project code, and for now I'm going to use Jenkins. Shutdown.sh. Just come here, or through Linux if you wanted to do /cd web apps folder ls-ltr. You can remove everything from here. rm is to remove recursively and forcefully, because I have folders also, and it might be scenario someone might be reading a folder also which is open state, which is in open state. If I wanted to kill that and everything, it's forcibly. F is for forcibly, and I want to delete everything here. I can just put a star. You see here, LTR, everything is removed. And here also you can just see it is removed. Okay, now where is our jar file which got downloaded, downloads. Okay, this is our Jenkins.jar file. Okay, now copy it here. You can, okay, you can just leave it like this, okay, or you can just rename this as root. The difference is, if you just leave it here, if I just rename it as root, what will happen I'll show you, or if you leave it here, what will happen I'll just show it, just 1 second. So I've just copied the jar file, and now let's start the Tomcat. It's in bin startup.sh. So it has extracted, right? This we call it as war has exploded. Okay, now the package one, what Jenkins has been packaged, or your project what has been packaged as zip, got unzipped. Now if you see, this will by default show the Jenkins, because the Jenkins code, whatever I have it here, okay, I've brought it and I've put it in Tomcat now. Now the Apache Tomcat will act as a container for my code. Now the difference is, if you rename it to root, what will happen is you can directly hit the URL like this, localhost 8080 whatever it is. Okay, if you don't have, okay, if you say that no, I don't want it to remove, I still want it as Jenkins, you can just put it as jenkins.war, hit the URL / you have to put Jenkins. Okay, additionally you have to put / Jenkins. Then you will be able to read the code which is there in Jenkins here. Okay. Now, if you guys have done it yesterday, it's pretty much the same thing. You guys would have got this screen, right? It will give you the key. I'm opening the key. I'll open it with Notepad. You guys would have got this. This is what you guys have got right yesterday.
Yes. Yes, Sanjay.
And then install plugins. This will take a couple of minutes. Okay. I'll just wait for this to complete. Any questions you guys have? Ardhamainda? Leda?
Yes, Sanjay.
Now I have a question, guys. I'm trying to install Jenkins and something has happened in Jenkins. Okay, something has happened in Jenkins. So how will I try to debug the issue? I have Jenkins folder also getting created. If you look at this, the default folder for Jenkins gets created here. User, Sanjay. There's a folder getting created here. Here also a lot of logs. Here also I have a log folder. If I find a problem in Jenkins, where will I come and validate how it is behaving?
So you have to go to Apache logs and for the
Exactly.
issue.
That's right. Because
We have
Apache
deployed
code.
the code into Apache, right? So I think
Exactly.
the logs will be created there.
Exactly. So come here. Okay. Come to your logs. This is a normal mistake we do also even. We try to do, hey, what is Jenkins crashes? I try to find something in Jenkins log. But this is the log which will show you. Now if you see, lot of stuff of Jenkins you'll see, okay. See, Jenkins key, everything, what operations you have done of Jenkins, it will show you here. It is trying to install some plugins, all of that. Okay. Now, what exactly is Jenkins, right? Jenkins is a continuous integration tool. As in such, Jenkins doesn't know anything. Okay, as in such, Jenkins is like, it's like a dummy. For example, you want to do a specific task. I'll give you one example, guys. You have your iPhone, right? You have your iPhone, right? As an iPhone, it doesn't do anything. Like as a dummy one, you wanted to play Pokemon Go. What do? What do you guys do? You guys go to the App
Store and
then
install it.
And install the app. So in the same way, what we'll do is Jenkins as such doesn't know anything. So even it has something called a store where you go there and what you wanted to do, you have the plugins related to that. For example, I want my Jenkins to do the build. In Java we used Maven build, right? Yesterday Maven we used. You want Jenkins to do a Maven build. Okay, Jenkins acts as a facilitator. That's it. When we take the interviews, right, people will say, I do a Jenkins build. It's not the Jenkins build. It's the Maven build that you do, but Jenkins acts as a facilitator, which has an ability to talk to different DevOps tools by installing the plugin. Okay, what you do is, in Jenkins, you install that plugin. Then you can use Jenkins to do it. The same way, right? You use your iPhone, you want to play the game, what do? You install a plugin or you install an app. So then in the iPhone, it will help you to play. The same way. So Jenkins, we install the plugin, and then Jenkins will become as a facilitator to do the task related to that. Is it clear? Is this clear?
Yes. And then could you please repeat this once again? Jenkins acts as a facilitator, so which has an ability
to talk to the DevOps tools or do your DevOps tasks by activating
DevOps
the plugin.
tools or tasks, right?
Yeah, tasks by installing the plugins. So it's called the continuous CI tool. Jenkins is a CI tool, continuous integration tool, which will help you to perform or to automate tasks by installing the plugins. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
I'm just waiting for this to complete.
So Sanjay, yesterday I tried to install default, not manual plugins, not default. So I changed it to, I selected 2 to 3 plugins and I installed. I don't know about these things.
I'll explain that. Just okay. There is a difference, right? What Arvind told and what I'm doing now. I've selected the left option and he has selected the right option. So what normally happened on the left option is by Jenkins code has by default selected some plugins which are majorly used by people across the industry, which are commonly used plugins. What they think is, okay, when someone is installing Jenkins, they might use 30 to 40% of these plugins compulsory. Okay, so these are the ones which, this is something like a recommended one. Okay, so what Arvind has done is, I don't want your recommendations, Jenkins. I'll go ahead and select my plugins and install it. Okay, there's no harm in it. Okay, normally what procedure we follow is, you have a requirement, you have like almost like list of plugins that are available. There will be many plugins that are available. Okay, you should not go ahead and install all the plugins at one shot. So what we normally do is, as per the requirement we get, we install those plugins. Okay, if I have a requirement to do a .NET build using MS Build, I'll install MS Build plugin. If I have to talk to the source control at TFS, then I'll install that plugin. Okay, now what Jenkins is doing is, it just installs like 10 to 15 plugins which are commonly used by everyone across the industry. Majorly used plugins across the industry. It doesn't harm. Or if you don't want, go. There's a section where you can go and uninstall it. Okay. Now, the next thing is, now I'm about to bring up Jenkins. On yesterday, you guys have brought, like, you guys have started Jenkins. What database did Jenkins use? What database did it use? Did it use a SQL Server database, or did it use Oracle database, or did it use Microsoft SQL Server database? What database did it use?
It uses its own database.
Wait. Let me just get who's answering.
Harish.
Harish, hold on. Because
Okay.
I've done almost 3 sessions with you, so we might. So others, what database did Jenkins use? Any guesses, guys?
I think it uses its own database because
What do you mean by own database?
it uses its own, what do we call that? Yeah, I'm not getting it.
Okay, what about others? Yes. So Jenkins, or almost all the DevOps tools that we are going to use doesn't use any database. Okay? So there's no database as such they have.
Okay.
They use something called flat files. Okay? What does it mean is, whatever you're doing, right? Whatever you do or any configurations you do, that gets stored in the flat files. That gets stored in the flat files as an XML here. Okay? So it doesn't have any database, any configurations, anything you do, it gets stored here. You're installing plugins, everything is getting stored here as a folder. Okay? So if you just take, there's a pipeline plugin you install, or let's take a Git plugin you're installing, it gets stored here. Okay? So Jenkins doesn't have any database. Advantages, if Jenkins crashes also, you can restore it back using these folders. If someone wants you to backup, hardcore backup of Jenkins, you want to backup this folder altogether.
Sanjay, one more thing. ఇప్పుడు Catalina ప్రాపర్టీస్ కానీ Catalina ఫోల్డర్స్ లాగ్ ఫోల్డర్స్ అవి బై మిస్టేక్ డిలీట్ అవుతాయి సో మళ్ళీ మనకి బ్యాకప్ ఉంటుందా సంజయ్ వాటికి
Again you have to do a reinstallation.
Oh, so we lost everything, data అంతా పోతుంది కదా
Yes, you are lost.
Okay.
So you have to try and, like, if you think those scenarios will happen, first thing మేము అట్లాంటి ఎట్లా ప్రివెంట్ చేస్తుంటే ఓన్లీ మా టీంకి యాక్సెస్ ఉండేటట్టు చూస్తాం దాన్ని.
Okay.
I don't want developers or anyone who doesn't have idea to get into that location altogether. Okay?
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see if it has started. Okay? So as general, what I do is admin .com. And then save and finish. Okay, this is your basic page. Okay, so what you have done yesterday was using an MSI. Now we have brought it using the container, which you can use the same method for. I did it on Windows, right? You can do the same thing in Windows and Linux using the container. But when on Windows, we use the easiest method what you guys have done. But this is the way you do it on Linux. Okay? And if you wanted to see what all plugins, okay, I'll explain each and every part. For now, if you just wanted to see what all plugins, this is what it has. What it has installed. This is what all it has installed. You wanted to do any extra installations, you come here. As per the requirement, you select the plugin. If I wanted to install do .NET build, you select MS build and then install without restart. It's a very big topic altogether, guys. It will take like 10 to 15 minutes of this topic, so I'll keep it for tomorrow. Okay? Is this clear?
Yes.
Is this clear, guys?
Yes, Sanjay.
Sanjay?
Everyone? One second, buddy. Yeah.
నిన్న విండోస్ చేసాం కదా సో బోత్ చేయొచ్చా
మీరు చెప్పండి నాకు ఎట్లా చేయొచ్చు నేను ఎస్ ఇస్ అన్ ఆన్సర్ బట్ ఎట్లా చేయొచ్చు
అదే
ఈరోజు ఎట్లా తీసుకొచ్చాను హౌ డిడ్ ఐ స్టార్ట్ జెంకిన్స్ టుడే
అపాచీ ఇన్స్టాల్డ్ టామ్కాట్ ఇన్స్టాల్
ఓకే
లోపలికి వెళ్ళి చేసాం ఇన్స్టాల్ త్రూ లైనస్ తీసుకుని
చేసాం కానీ మేజర్ ఎక్కడ చేంజ్ చేసాం నిన్న మీరు జెంకిన్స్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారు కదా ఏ పోర్ట్ లో ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశారు 8080 పోర్ట్ రైట్ ఇప్పుడు బై డిఫాల్ట్ పోర్ట్ చేంజ్ చేయకుండా టామ్కాట్ రన్ చేస్తారు రన్ అవదు
ఓకే
సో వాట్ యుల్ డూ యూ చేంజ్ ద పోర్ట్ deploy this war file there, it will come up, right? It will start.
Yeah. Yes.
So put your Jenkins war file there, rename it to root.war and start it, it will run. So you have two Jenkins.
Okay. Yeah, got it.
Okay?
Yeah, got it.
Sanjay, port can be 5 to 6 numbers or only the 4 numbers, Sanjay?
It has 4 numbers. It's the 4 numbers.
Okay.
Okay? Guys, I'm not just to tell you, don't get offended if I ask back the question to you. because I want you guys to answer it by yourself. I'll give the clues so that you guys only can just analyze the things and answer back.
Hi Sanjay, like I have a small, like can you
Yeah, Ram.
give me some small description on what a port is?
Port, okay, when you wanted to run an application, right? When you wanted to run an application, it requires, you need to send the packets and the packets are coming back, right? So it's like a tunnel where you can send the packets and get back the packets. Okay?
Okay, sir.
So take for example, a wall undi ankondi. What is a wall? Like on a system, what is a wall? Firewall undi, right? You have a firewall. If someone wants to talk to the application which is there, so what you need to do, you need to penetrate onto the firewall, right? And you need to access it. So that security, everything we do it through ports. You are hitting only that port. Okay?
There would be so many different port numbers for different applications, right? Yes.
Exactly.
So it's just a gateway. It's just a secured gateway to access that application. Yeah.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
సంజయ్ ఇప్పుడు మనం కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ టూల్ అంటాం కదా, వాట్స్ ఇట్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్ మీ అంటే ఎగ్జాక్ట్ ఎండ్స్ అనేది కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అంటే?
ఓకే, I'll leave it to you, Arvind. ఓకే, నేను ఇది చెప్తాను రేపు. ఓకే, we just need to do it using, or if you still wanted, నాకు ఇప్పుడే కావాలంటే go back to the first session.
ఓకే,
డెమో సెషన్ వీడియో ఉంది కదా, నేనేం చేశాను, there are 4 parts important for our DevOps. One is continuous integration, continuous delivery, continuous deployment, continuous monitoring. Do you remember?
I remember, but నా దగ్గర వీడియో లేదు సంజయ్, so can you share?
Okay. Yeah, I'll share that, Harish. I'll send it to you. So continuous integration is nothing but developer is doing the code check-in at every point of time. ప్రతి check-in కి మనం ఆ కోడ్ ని వాలిడేట్ చేసి వాళ్ళకి చెప్పగలిగితే, yes, నువ్వు చెక్-ఇన్ చేసిన కోడ్ కరెక్ట్గా ఉంది, లేదు నువ్వు చెక్-ఇన్ చేసిన కోడ్ వల్ల ప్రాబ్లం ఉంది అనేది చెప్పగలిగితే, దట్ ఈస్ కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్. దట్ వీ వాంట్ టు అచీవ్ యూజింగ్ జెంకిన్స్. ఓకే, అది ఇంప్లిమెంటేషన్ చేసినప్పుడు ఇంకా క్లియర్గా అర్థం అవుతుంది.
సో సేమ్ థింగ్ మనం ఇప్పుడు కస్టమర్ క్లయింట్ కి ఎవ్రీ టైం అప్డేట్ చేస్తే దాని ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అన్నాం కదా.
నాకు అర్థం కాదు, క్లయింట్ కి అప్డేట్ చేసామంటే ఏంటి?
ఇప్పుడు మనం సేమ్ థింగ్, ఇప్పుడు మనకి ఏదైనా ప్రాబ్లం వస్తే అంటే స్టెప్ బై స్టెప్ మనము డెవలపర్స్ చెప్తున్నాం కదా ఇది అని, సో దాన్ని మనం కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ అంటాం.
అవును,
అదే మనం క్లయింట్ కి చెప్తే
ఈ మనకి డెవాప్స్ మనం చేస్తున్నట్టు మన క్లయింట్స్ ఎవరు? డెవలపర్స్.
I will wait out to
సారీ,
clients తో మాట్లాడడం కదా.
యాక్చువల్ గా మనకంటూ క్లయింట్స్ అంటే ఎండ్ ఎవరు? డెవలపర్సే.
డెవలపర్స్ ఆర్ టెస్టర్స్ ఏమో.
డెవ్ ఆప్స్ అంటే ఏంటి? వీఆర్ డూయింగ్ డెవలప్మెంట్ ఆపరేషన్స్, రైట్? ఇట్స్ నాట్ 2 different థింగ్స్.
అంటే నేను జనరల్ గా అడుగుతుంటే మనం చెప్పాము, మామూలుగా దాన్ని ఏమంటారు అని
నాకు ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా రాలేదు మీరు ఏమంటున్నారు. మనం డెవాప్స్,
ఇప్పుడు మనం డెవాప్స్ గురించి అడగట్లేదు నేను. ఇప్పుడు మామూలుగా మీరు చెప్పే మనం ఎప్పుడు ఎవ్రీ టైం అప్డేట్ చేస్తుంటాము డెవలపర్ టీమ్స్ కి, సో అది కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్. ఒకవేళ మనం అంటే
క్లయింట్ మేనేజర్, అది డిఫరెంట్ సినారియో. దీస్ ఆర్ 2 different pieces. ఓకే, నార్మల్ గా మనం ఏం చేస్తాం, నార్మల్ రియల్ టైమ్ లో ఏం చేస్తాం అంటే, మనం డెవాప్స్ ఏం చేస్తాం, కోడ్ రన్ అవుతుందా లేదా వాళ్ళకి అప్డేట్ ఇస్తాం. లైక్ వాళ్ళ రాసిన కోడ్ ఫీడ్బ్యాక్ ఇస్తూ ఉంటాం, బాస్ నువ్వు రాసిన కోడ్ సరిగ్గా ఉందండి, దట్ ఈస్ రిలేటెడ్ టు ద కోడ్, రైట్? మనం టెస్టర్స్ కి ఏమి ఇస్తాం, బాస్ నా దగ్గర ప్యాకేజ్ రెడీగా ఉంది నీకు ఇస్తాను, నువ్వు టెస్టింగ్ చేయని. దట్ ఈస్ విత్ ద టెస్టర్స్ వి ఇంటరాక్ట్. క్లయింట్ ఆర్ ది మేనేజర్స్కి ఏం చెప్తా అంటే, నువ్వేం వర్క్ చేస్తున్నావు, వాట్ యు ఆర్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ ది హై లెవెల్ యూ గివ్ దెమ్, దట్ ఈస్ ది స్టేటస్ అప్డేట్. ఓకే, అది దానికి ఇప్పుడు ఏం చేస్తున్నారంటే, దే కండక్ట్ సంథింగ్ కాల్డ్ స్క్రమ్ మీటింగ్స్. స్క్రమ్ అంటారు అంటే, నీకు ఆ 15 days లో ఏం వర్క్ ఉందో నీకు చేస్తారు వర్క్. ఫర్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ మీ ప్రాజెక్ట్ లో జెంకిన్స్ లేదు, ఏం చేస్తారు, నీకు వర్క్ చేస్తారు, నువ్వు జెంకిన్స్ డిప్లాయ్ చేసి డెవలపర్ కోడ్ తీసుకుని కంటిన్యూస్ ఇంటిగ్రేషన్ సెటప్ చేయంటారు. సో ఆన్ ది ఓవరాల్ నీకు ఇచ్చిన టాస్క్ ఏంటి, సిఎస్ సెటప్ చేయటం. నువ్వేం చేస్తావు, క్లయింట్ కి ఒక్కో ఫేజ్ లో ఇస్తావు, ఓకే ఈ రోజు నేను జెంకిన్స్ ఇన్స్టాల్ చేశాను, రేపు జెంకిన్స్ దీంతో ఇంటిగ్రేట్ చేసి మేవెన్ బిల్డ్స్ చేస్తున్నాను. సో దిస్ ఇస్ ఆల్ వాట్ యూ అప్డేట్ టు ది క్లయింట్ ఆర్ ది ప్రాజెక్ట్ మేనేజర్. సో దట్ we call it in the Scrum meetings. What we call it as status update.
ఓకే
Okay?
Yeah.
Does it answer your question, Harish?
యా అలాంటి సేమ్ యా.
Okay. At every point of time మెయిల్స్ కూడా పంపిస్తూ ఉంటాం, ఇది స్టేటస్ ఇది అని.
ఓకే
మేజర్గా నాకు అర్థమైంది, ఎందుకంటే కాంట్రాక్ట్ కింద వెళ్ళినప్పుడు ఈ కొద్దిగా ఎక్కువ ఉంటాయి. ఇఫ్ వర్కింగ్ ఆన్ రియల్ టైమ్ ఏమి ఉండదు ఎక్కువ.
ఓకే
If you're working as a full-time employee, right? మీదే కదా, you are a client and you are an end user, right?
యా
Okay?
ఓకే సార్, థ్యాంక్ యూ.
Okay. Any other questions, guys? So today's task, what you guys have is, already నిన్న ఇన్స్టాల్ చేసిన Jenkins start చేయండి. Start the Jenkins. Keep it running. On the other side, start the Tomcat also without changing the port. Look at the logs. Get an idea what logs are saying. Just try to hit localhost 8080. మీకు Jenkins URL కనపడుతుందా, Tomcat URL కనపడుతుందా చూడండి. Then shut down Tomcat if it is running. Change the port and then hit the port again. Different port. What port you have changed to. Then you'll have two things. Then after that, what you'll do, you'll change back you'll deploy your Jenkins war, and then you'll have 2 Jenkins running on your system. Okay? Is it clear?
ఎస్ అండి.
Okay, guys.
ఎస్ ఇట్స్ క్లియర్. సో ఇంకొక క్వశ్చన్ ఏంటంటే
Yeah.
సార్, ఇప్పుడు మనము జెంకిన్స్ వార్ అనే ఒక ప్యాకేజ్ ని మనం అపాచీలో డిప్లాయ్ చేస్తున్నాము. సో అట్లాగే వేరే ఏమైనా అప్లికేషన్స్ ఉన్నాయా, వేరే ఐ కెన్ గో ఇన్ టు అపాచీ అండ్ డిప్లాయ్ దర్?
Yeah.
ఏమైనా అంటే ఎగ్జాంపుల్స్?
ఓ పని చేయండి, మీరు గూగుల్లో జస్ట్ సర్చ్
Okay.
ఫర్ డౌన్లోడ్ hello.war ఫైల్.
డౌన్లోడ్
హలో వార్ ఫైల్.
ఇలాంటివి ఏమన్నా ఓకే
ఇదొకటి. రెండోది నార్మల్ గా మనం ఆఫ్టర్ దిస్ రైట్, లైక్ ఆఫ్టర్ దీని తర్వాత ఒక 2 సెషన్స్ జెంకిన్స్ తీసుకుంటాను జస్ట్ ఆన్ ద స్ట్రక్చర్. దాని తర్వాత యాక్చువల్ బిల్డ్ చెప్తాను. దేర్ ఐ యూజ్ అన్ ఎగ్జాంపుల్ యాక్చువల్లీ. బట్ యూ చేయండి, జస్ట్ డూ వన్ థింగ్. ఎందుకంటే కోడ్ వచ్చింది అనుకోండి, అప్పుడప్పుడు గూగుల్లో డైరెక్ట్ గా వార్ ఫైల్ దొరకదు మీకు. ఆర్ జస్ట్ ఫర్ శాంపుల్ జస్ట్ టేక్ ఇట్ యాజ్ శాంపుల్ హలో వరల్డ్ వార్ ఫైల్ అని కొడితే వస్తుంది, ట్రై చేయండి.
I'll try that.
Okay, using Maven build will create a war altogether. Okay.
Okay.
So అది డిప్లాయ్ చేయొచ్చు మీరు.
ఓకే అండి.